Just like that, it's Thursday night, and you know what that means. It's party time, people. We're the Video Pros. I'm Bobby Munson, the man beside me, the man with the angelic voice. Get your beers in the air for Papa Smokes. Papa Smokes, happy Thursday. How the hell you doing, brother?
Munson, a happy Thursday to you, and a shout out to all my wrestling people out there. How's everybody doing tonight?
Hopefully everybody is having a kick-ass time like we're going to have here tonight. Our good friend Bobby is up in the house, and he's saying that Sam and Dawn is scheduled on MLW Fusion for next week against Microman. Man, they're digging deep back into the vault of matches that never got utilized within Underground or Fusion over the last little while. So they're kind of digging back to some people who are no longer even with the company at this point in time, it seems. But you know, Papa Smokes, I know you missed out on the tailgate party, unfortunately, but I'll have to I'll set you up to be able to still watch the show. But man, I'm sure you've heard about what went down at MLW's Fury Road last weekend.
Yeah, it was an unfortunate set of circumstances to do with my shoot job that I couldn't be here. Wanted to be here with you guys watching that, but yeah, some tumultuous events going down at that show with big potential in the whole scene in MLW.
Yeah, it's gonna really change things up. And keep in mind, Pop Smokes, hopefully Saturday night, October the 14th, the next tailgate watch along party, MLW's Slaughterhouse, and it's gonna be interesting. We've got Minoru Suzuki coming in to take on Jacob Fatu that night. Already huge news coming out of there. Plus, as we heard, with the return of Selena De La Renta, she promises to bring the meanest, baddest luchadoras to Slaughterhouse. I can't wait. What were your thoughts? Selena's back.
Oh, I wasn't expecting it. I didn't know what was going on with her. I think of her every now and again because you and I and many other people have recognized what a budding young talent she was in the wrestling business. What a seriously excellent promo she can cut, plus the look, plus the presentation. I mean, she's solid gold. And I think she just wanted to step away from the business for a bit, or she was doing some work down in Texas, I think, where she lives. But nothing but joy for me to get to see more of Selena's work. A beautiful lady that cuts a hell of a promo, and she can be figured into some of the big goings on in MLW as kind of a manager and a talent scout. And like you said, did you say she's bringing luchadoras?
Yeah, and that kind of plays into what Bobby's saying here. Do we think that she'll bring in some women for the featherweight division? And I think that's exactly where this is going. I think she's going to bring some of the baddest luchadoras in. Maybe some of the ones that we got glimpses of when they did the crossover with AAA previously. Maybe she'll give them a good presentation coming in. Now they'll be part of the main story going into this whole thing with the featherweight division. I see big things. Plus, on top of it, Selena has been a showrunner as well, too, at times. So multi-talented and brings a lot back with her to MLW. This is awesome.
Yeah, exciting times too. And just to talk about the featherweights division for 1 second, that is excellent news if she's bringing in some luchadoras, because the last time we got to see some Mexican ladies in the ring, that was a good little run there with Lady Flammer, La Hiedra, Sexy Star, and there were a couple of other girls in that run that they're crazy down there. I love the way the Mexican ladies wrestle, and that was very entertaining for me. So yes, more please.
Oh yeah, and there should be lots more. Like, we've got more friends up in the house. We got Ed Fries dropping in. How you doing, Ed? And we got Astrid coming in. How are you doing, Astrid? Good to see you as always. Remember, Ed and Astrid Tuesday nights on Taking Over. You can catch Ed on Wednesday nights on Wrestle Draft, and you can all go over to support their personal channels as well too. Astrid with a lot of things going on. And of course, Astrid just this past weekend did the AEW All Out review for us here with Jose as her special guest. Great review show. Excellent work as always. I expect nothing less from the absolute best. And there they are in our chat tonight, Papa Smokes.
Yeah, the natural herself. We're always blessed by her presence.
We sure are. And awesome former guest as well, too. It's both Ed and Astrid have been on our show. Both fantastic times. Two of our best shows we've had. Bobby saying they could wrestle against Delmy, Becca. Hey, for what it's worth, they can wrestle Maki Ito. Bring Maki Ito on a regular basis. So let me tell you, Fury Road was ladies' night, Papa Smokes, man. The ladies killed it. Not only was this an entertaining segment of the night, but the match between Maki Ito and Becca was good. It was pretty darn good. The match itself, even like Brian's in the chat talking it up, he's like, I did not expect this, but I liked this matchup. And it was kind of that, we like the presentation, we like the characters, we like the fun that they're having, but they took that and then they gave us a pretty darn good matchup in the process. It was not bad. It was more than not bad. It was good. So.
Okay, Wild, I got to see this then. I was totally expecting more sizzle than steak, so to speak, with their rivalry as pop stars and stuff like that. I knew there was going to be some of that going on, but if the match was good, then I'm 1,000% in.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, it was right up there. Probably one of the best matches of the evening, hands down, like quite easily. So, right, I mean, honestly, you can't take away from what Kane and Willie put it all on the table in the main event. I mean, it's also a pretty solid matchup. Yeah, I'll have to get that to you so that you can check that out, Bob Smokes. It was a night worth watching, another entertaining night from our friends over at MLW. We highly recommend that if you like MLW or you want to support more independent wrestling, go get yourself a subscription to Fight Plus, because then you can be watching these shows along with us and then watching our tailgate parties as well too. Did we make Astrid blush? Is that a blushing one? Might be a blushing one. I think it might be. Bobby saying they still continuing the feud with Matt Cardona and the Second Gear Crew. So after everything that went down there with Old Manser at the show, of course, Kiss My Foot match ended with a little bit. Okay. I guess it's not blushing emotional. Okay, well, I mean, didn't mean to make you emotional, but we only speak truths here on Ring Respect Radio. So, but yeah, I mean, Cardona and Old Manser, of course, they had quite the brawl there at the show as well too. I mean, you kicked off, the whole thing, like the bigger build matchups throughout the entire show were the ones that really grabbed your attention. The other ones where it was, I think, Ishiban's match, I think it went a little longer than I was expecting Ishiban's match to go, to be exact. And not to say it's bad, it just, a little bit more time given to that one than I was expecting to have given to it, kind of thing. And then I think the same with Kushida's match as well too. And like they almost felt like they were a little out of place. Like they felt more fusion than like premium live event type situation. And I'm not sure why. I really can't put my finger on it. Matches weren't bad, but just something about them felt off kilter to the rest of the card.
Yeah, well, okay, I believe that, and we've seen a couple other examples of that with MLW. Is that it kind of depends on the venue and the crowd and such too, as to whether you get that big feel or that kind of spot show feel. Like you remember we watched some of those Alex Kane matches where he was in Germany and he was in Japan and he was in what looked like a school gymnasium in the afternoon with all the sunlight coming in, and the crowd was very quiet. It's like it turns wrestling into a different experience if that's not what you're used to. If you're used to going to PPW or some other rowdy independent league, or else one of the big leagues when there's a good house that's cheering lots. I don't know if that happens that much anymore, but it can have a different feel, and the same match it can be taken completely differently depending on the crowd and the venue and the atmosphere and such too.
Yeah, we got Bobby mentioning that Matt Cardona did do a fusion taping match up against one called Manders at the tapings last Sunday, so that'll be coming up very shortly on MLW Fusion in the build to Slaughterhouse that's coming up in October here. And then I believe, get this, Pop Smokes, I believe the next live event from MLW that's going to be on Fight TV Plus after Slaughterhouse is a Thursday night premium live event.
Oh, hell yeah.
I mean, could you ask for anything more? Party nights on a Thursday with the Video Bros, and it just lands into a premium live event from our friends over at MLW. It's like they just knew. They were like, you know what? I remember those dudes. We're going to set something up that just fits perfectly for them. Yeah, thanks, Court.
They just won't go away. They keep reviewing us. They just won't go away.
Yeah, we keep throwing everybody out there for them, and they find ways to promote them and make them feel better. So, and that's what we're going to continue to do because MLW rocks, and that's what we're all about here at Ring Respect Radio is putting over the independents and the smaller companies that really deserve your attention. Well, you know, we go to the theme of the show tonight, which is talking about wrestling booking. And we've said before, not everything in MLW is sunshines and rainbows. It's not all perfect. There's stuff that we don't care for or stuff that goes a certain way, like, hey, why did that happen? But, you know, you can be a little bit more forgiving with smaller companies too, because a lot of the times rosters are completely out of their hands. People are independent workers that aren't on a contract that can be controlled. You don't guarantee them week to week kind of thing. So it becomes a little bit more difficult for some companies to be able to produce what the big ones have. But, you know, for what it's worth, Court Bauer definitely in terms of modern booking is probably one of the better bookers, I would say, on the market today. I like how he puts things together personally as a whole. You know, again, everybody's going to have their slip-ups. But let's go talk about the situation here, Pop Smokes. And the reason that I want to bring this topic up is because everybody's talking about Tony Khan, CM Punk, the way the whole situation went down, who's right, who's wrong. And well, I'm not about to take sides because I'm not a Punk fan and Tony Khan doesn't really register on my radar enough to really get upset about him or anything like that. I mean, the whole situation is kind of a mess. It almost seems like a lot of people are to blame. A lot of people that just really didn't know what to do in the situation, right from the initial situation to the one that happened in Wembley. I'm not going to play the who's right, who's wrong game, but I know from the conversation, what's happened, the attack in the back, this kind of stuff. I wanted to dig a little deeper into the territory side of things. Back in what people call the golden era of professional wrestling a lot, some of the bookers that were back then and how they used to handle situations maybe similar to this, or how they used to handle the roster when the boys would get out of hand.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah. We're opening up a Pandora's box here, Munson. There's tons of stories. I obviously wasn't present for any of those, but I mean, over the years, the main bookers that are remembered as being particularly genius in the Eddie Grahams, the Roy Shire out of San Francisco. That's who Pat Patterson learned from and did so much booking help for McMahon throughout many, many years in WWE. And Paul Bosch in Houston, and of course, Jim Crockett and all those guys. I think that you should have one person that's the booker. This is like, I've never booked for a company. You got to just bear with me here, but just looking at history and the way it's worked out, looking at the success of some of the old timers I was just naming, it's one guy that has the book. Maybe he consults a couple of other guys. Maybe he asks some questions to some other people. Excuse me, but he has to be in charge of the whole thing and be able to put his hand or his fist down or his foot down and make the hard decisions that might hurt somebody's feelings, might piss someone off, might make someone quit, might start a fight. Doesn't matter. You have to make those decisions firmly, just as in wrestling, as in all kinds of business and sport and entertainment in all the rest of the world. So, and another good example is Bill Watts from Mid-South. And that was a former wrestler and football player. He was tough. The guys all respected him because he was a good booker, but they also respected him because he was tough. And he wasn't scared to make it known the positions between talent and booker, that the talent didn't have any say in it, and that if he wanted to put you down or squash your idea, he was just going to do it. And you might not be happy about it, but there was a definite answer and a definite end to this problem. Same thing with these fights that happen backstage and stuff. I mean, you and I joked about this last year when the first backstage altercation happened.
Yeah.
And there was so much fallout from that afterwards. And you and I were joking around about anyone listening. We've all gone to school. We've all been involved in groups, played sports, did hobbies, all kinds of groups where people get together, and there's always going to be clashes in them. And even to the point of physical fights. I've seen it on my old hockey teams and all kinds of stuff. But never did I see it not resolved within that day, kind of thing. And usually because someone in authority took those two quarreling people, put them together and said, hey, you guys are going to work this out because we got a team to run here. We all have to work together. We can't have you guys fighting and starting problems and telling stories about each other. Either fight physically right now or talk it out right now. Either way, this gets done. And I mean, that's not always to everyone's liking, and people don't want to do what someone says abruptly like that. But if you make the guys work it out and shake hands, it can be over and everyone can move on. And I've seen this happen a million times. Jobs, school, sports teams, everything where guys fought. And if it gets handled right away, it's not usually a problem. Tony Khan, not of that mindset. He makes another show so that the guys don't have to get together. I mean, my God, it boggles the mind really how crazy that is. That he didn't just put his foot down and say, hey, you guys get along, or whoever doesn't like it, you can walk, and that's it. And that's hard. Those are hard realities. How many times did McMahon do that? How many times did we see our favorites from WWF? Oh, geez, he hasn't been on TV in 3 weeks, a month. Oh, yeah, he's gone, man. He got in an argument with Mr. McMahon, and McMahon told him to walk. That's how it goes in business and all kinds of walks of life. So that's my take on it. And it could have been squashed and it could have been handled, and it just wasn't.
Yeah. And I mean, it seems to me like if this was going to be the inevitable outcome from it all, then why would you give a second chance? Why would you feed into making a secondary show for somebody who you deemed to possibly be a potential problem before? Why wouldn't you have just cut them loose at that point in time? clearly there was no fans of that particular brand of professional wrestling that were clamoring for his return at this point. So why feed right directly into that and then, have to go through this all again? I mean, you clearly have a lot of heat in that locker room, and whether you take, it doesn't matter what side of the fence you're on, whether you agree with one side or the other. The thing is that more of your contracted workers have a disdain for this one particular individual. And like it or not, that individual might be who's pulling in your most views, your most money, your most ticket buys right now. But do you sit there and rely on that one guy to do that? Or do you have to look at trying to get unity within your locker room to try to progress as a company and earn those dollars in another way?
For sure, that's the real irony of the whole situation is the guy we're talking about here that's getting fired was far and away the top guy that company's ever had. The only thing is that it begs the question is that I'm not sure, and I've never heard anyone talk about it. AEW doesn't run like a regular wrestling company because Tony, like, I'm not sure that Tony cares if it makes any money. Like, that's the thing. It doesn't have to be self-sustaining. Tony's dad gave him $100 million. This is for his fun. So, I mean, he doesn't have to step on toes and fire people and cut corners and all the rest of that, I guess, if he doesn't want to, because I'm not sure that he cares if it makes money or not. Yeah. And he obviously didn't care in the first couple of years because the show was a lot different then. But it changed when he got Punk and when he got Danielson. Then now it started looking like a real company because you have legit main event top guys, two of them at least, right? Yeah. And that's when I started thinking, okay, like, he talks about wanting to go to war with WWE and have a better product and compete with them as WCW did, but it didn't look like he was trying at first. But once he got those two top guys and a few other dudes throughout the card, the Malakais and the Miros and such like that. But yep. Once he got those two top guys, then it was like, oh shit, okay, maybe he can do everything. Now his show finally gets 1 million people. Now he finally gets a pay-per-view with $1 million house and all that stuff, right? Like, okay, that's to build on, right? There's lots of work still to be done, but if you have that top one or two guys that can rake in the views and the cash like that, that's a pretty good foundation on which to grow your company.
Yeah. I mean, they damn near sold out Wembley. I mean, so kudos to him. I'm not taking anything away from Tony. Like, Tony is probably a nice guy. I mean, when he came out in Saskatoon doing his speech, like, he seems like he's a nice wrestling fan that, you know, if he was outside of a PPW show, we'd be sitting there having a chat with the dude because he seems like someone you could have a talk to about professional wrestling. There you go. He'd be right in with the Video Bros, I'm sure of that. Probably Big a fan Swole. Too.
Big Swole said he was down with the ganj, so we're good.
Okay, so it's good. Yeah, he'd fit right in with us then. But you know, when I start to look at other bookers, and I mean even more modernly, say like your Triple H's or your Vince, they still kind of have the bit of that authority about them, right? I mean, like, Vince was a big dude. Let's not deny how much muscle and power and possible extra things that he put into his body to get that muscle and power, along with Triple H as well too. And they have that kind of that old school kind of gruff way about them and stuff. Like, Triple H has obviously been able to kind of switch to a more modern understanding of the product and stuff like that. And while he doesn't always get it right, he seems to be more in tune with it currently and how to work the WWE than what Vince was, because Vince has lost it over there, what he did have of it. And I mean, a lot of people probably even call a lot of what Vince had just dumb luck and or good business sense or whatever it is that got him to where he is, kind of thing. Like, he just kind of threw spaghetti at a wall and decided to see what would stick.
Yeah, you could say that too, except that Vince, I don't think, knew what he was going to do with his life, and his dad made him be an announcer and a commentator, right? Like, you're working for me then if you don't have a job or any direction in your life. But his success speaks for itself. You guys all know my feeling. I don't like the mega corporation that WWF has become, but you can't argue the success. I mean, he took over the whole business. It's not a nice thing to do. It's not an equitable thing to do for the wrestling business as a whole. But if you're looking at growing a company and a corporation, I mean, very successful. Then if you look at money as being the most successful thing, then certainly he was. So, and Vince has had a lot of help with booking over the years. I mean, lots of other people booked for him, but he always had that veto power, and he would sometimes take some of those ideas and just turn them backwards or put his little turn on it, and that would be the final product.
Yeah, I mean, I know you're not a huge fan, but there has been things along the way. Vince has obviously had some things go right. He's had the right people at the right time, and certain guys are just, and gals as well too, are going to connect inside that ring and give you a good show, regardless of what your cup of tea is. But I want to talk about like when some of the situations have gone wrong in the old days, the territory days. Now, had what happened with the fight backstage, I'm sure that has happened before in the territories, in a lot of the locker rooms. I mean, let's not get ourselves wrong, probably even to higher extents. How would it have been handled in those times versus the way it got handled this time around? Because this time around, you got the booker saying he was afraid for his own and other people's lives because CM Punk had Jungle Boy in a headlock. But that's, again, I'm just saying what I've heard. I'm not saying I know for sure. I wasn't there, but
he lunged at him, Munson. He lunged at him. That's a lunge right there. Yeah.
All right. Oh man, I'm shaking. But how would this have been handled if something similar or a higher level of this been done during the territory days? How would they have handled things back then, or specific stories if you had them?
Yeah, well, each promoter would have had a tough guy, like a heavy, that would be at his shows, that would probably be a wrestler, but someone that he had kind of in his pocket. You and I have talked about Gene LaBelle in LA. I mean, that guy was famous for that stuff. If you thought something bad was going to go down at your show, maybe the champ was going to leave with your belt or something, or there was going to be a fight, you have a guy like that back there. Or a Cowboy Bill Watts, or a Dick Slater, or one of those legit tough guys. I'm sure Meng has been used for that before too, because everybody was scared of him. Blackjack Mulligan used to do that too, I think. Yeah, and that guy would be just one of the boys getting changed with the boys and all that. But all the boys, all the wrestlers would know, well, that's the guy that gets into it if we misbehave, including not just fights, but other drunken behavior or other offensive behavior could be dealt with. Yeah, there'd be a stretcher, there'd be a tough guy in the back, and whether he was wrestling or not, he would be back there to kind of keep order in the locker room. And we remember who the sheriff was in Vince's WWE. There was the Dead Man, the Undertaker, was kind of the dude that would represent Vince in a physical manner when stuff went wrong in the dressing room.
All right, we've got I believe that's Divic, if I'm not mistaken, but. Anyways, thanks for joining in the show. Thoughts on Jim Cornette? This can always be a touchy subject. I mean, we've brought him up even when we were talking to Rich Bocchini and stuff like that.
He was trending all weekend on Twitter.
I haven't even found out why. You know what? To be honest, a lot of like, I don't agree with everything the man says, clearly, because there is some things he said, and I'll shake my head and like, man, Jim, what the fuck? Like, why are you saying that shit? But like, let's not take away from the fact that the guy knows professional wrestling. He's been around professional wrestling pretty much his whole entire life. So he gets how it goes together. The booking side of it, I mean, if we're talking booking Jim Cornette and we're leaving everything else everybody thinks aside, he gets it. He's obviously had a few things where it's like, that was not the best. But
Yeah.
all in all, Jim Cornette can book a professional wrestling show.
For sure. And he's asking about Cornette as a booker.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. He knows, like, Cornette's the ultimate wrestling nerd. He's got everything memorized, and he soaked in every aspect of the business at such a young age that he was a child prodigy, and now he's just the ultimate wrestling nerd. He knows how to book a show perfectly well. It's just some of his ideas are corny. Mind the pun there a little bit, but because I don't think Cornette is in touch with what's cool nowadays, kind of thing, or nor was he ever really. But he took a lot of his ideas from Smoky Mountain Wrestling, from the younger wrestlers, just trying to see what was cool, what songs were good, what looks were cool, what people were into, and movies and stuff like that. So I don't know, like, he booked a lot of stuff pretty successfully, but he has some cheeseball stuff as well, as most bookers do.
Yeah, it always happens. But you know what? At least Mama Cornette always thought he was cool. Chris Best saying that he's a little out of touch. Anybody that age is going to be, though. I mean, that's the thing. They don't spend their time being in touch. What he's in touch with is how it all goes together and how it should go together and stuff. He's not completely wrong with some of the things that he thinks about how it should go together. I think that in all fairness, he could still put on a show that people would watch. I mean, if you didn't put stamp his name on it, and he put a show together and someone rolled with it and rolled it out and then asked people's opinions, I bet you could have a positive feedback without because I mean, automatically people would write it off if his name was attached, but don't put his name attached. Have him piece the show together, have it go together, and then ask the people what they thought. I think it'd be a different thought process than when they know he's attached to it. As always, thank you. I always here for questions.
That's such an interesting idea. I like that, the blind Cornette taste test.
Yeah,
like
I mean,
who came up with this angle? A, Jim Cornette. B, Bruce Pritchard. C, Vince Russo. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Oh, I mean, they would stand out like a sore thumb with Russo there. Of course, like it looked like the most crash TV garbage you've ever seen. I'm sorry. I know maybe there's some people that liked what Russo put together. I think Russo just happened to have a lot of stars on his hand, and he just happened to play into what was the television level of cool at the time, not a professional wrestling show. He just mimicked what he saw on late night TV all throughout the 90s and threw it on to WWE and it got called the Attitude Era.
And to be fair, also with a whole ton of success. I mean, as dumb as that stuff was, it was familiar to the young TV watching audience at that time, because they liked Howard Stern and they liked Jackass and they liked this kind of irreverent
Jerry Springer show, whatever it took.
Yeah, stuff that was different from normal TV, stuff that wasn't sitcoms with canned laugh track and stuff. They wanted something that was more real. And it sounds funny saying it that way about Vince Russo's thing, but just kind of in the beginning of reality TV and stuff, just kind of making it, trying to make it timely, trying to make it cool and hip and all that, and having some success doing that. The only thing about that is, without experience being a booker, he overbooked everything savagely, because he didn't think in advance. He had no patience. He didn't think in advance to, well, I've got an angle here. We could tour this all winter, and draw houses all across the US and get good ratings on TV. But no, I'm going to just book the living hell out of every show, hotshot book every show, which would drive ratings up because he's using all the stars and doing all his big angles. Yeah, but what do you do next week and next week and next month and next year? Because you have to keep coming up with fresh stuff. or it's going to go back down the toilet.
Awesome. Now I'm going to throw a really cool one at you, Pop Smokes. I want you to give me your 3 favorite wrestling promoter bookers of all time.
Oh boy. Okay. First, I liked your ad poster on Twitter there. That looked cool with the devolution line there. That was very well done. And that had Vern Gagne in it.
Mm-hmm. I had to throw that in for you.
For sure. I appreciate that. So I'm going to talk about him here too. And I'll say right off the bat to everyone listening, I know that nobody agrees with me about Vern Gagne, but again, this is my special time when I was a kid, when it was magical. Vern had what was known as the Great 8, and he had 8 guys, mid card, top of the card, and lower card as well. And those were his 8 dudes, and he built everything around them. So the booking all came out of a tree from those 8 guys. Nothing fancy, no child custody struggles, no people having affairs on their wives and getting found out, no people's limousines blowing up or anything like that. Just sports style angles, basically, right? Like, I am angry that I lost.
I don't know if the technical difficulties are with me or with Papa Smokes right now. If the chat can let me know if you can still hear me at this point in time, or whether or is Papa Smokes to throw them. Nope, there he is. He's back. Okay, all right, he's back.
He hasn't done that in a while, okay?
Yeah, it's been a long time anyway. So, but yeah, I think you were just stepping into talking about Vern there.
Yeah, I like that simple booking that's just more sports based. There are real life conflicts, but it's about the matches. You cheated in your match, or I didn't like this match, or I didn't like the outcome of this match. It was simpler. It was a little more sports based. I would have to go with Jim Crockett Promotions as another one, especially that heyday in the 80s. They had such good angles, such as the tag team wars of Rock and Roll versus Midnight Express. Excuse me. I liked the Road Warriors and the Russians in there, Ivan Koloff, Nikita Koloff, and then I always thought that was such a good story that Nikita Koloff, the new Russian machine, the huge and talented young guy, fought Magnum TA, the all-American hero. They had that best of 7 series match that they took on tour with the Great American Bash and all that stuff. And just a great series of matches. They're all so good. And Nikita barely wins that 7th and deciding match. And then shortly after that, Magnum TA gets in his car accident in real life, crippling his legs. They thought he was going to be paralyzed forever. And Nikita, they show him at Magnum TA's bedside, like, you are my greatest foe. Like, I don't know what to do without you because you are my greatest opponent. So now Nikita's going babyface. Some good turns. The fans were shocked, but the fans were touched. Everything they did for a while there turned to gold, and I like that a whole bunch. Now, as a third booker, I'm not sure who to say. I want to say someone smaller than those guys.
I had one in particular I've been thinking of this entire time because, and I know that you're a fan as well too. But I just want to flat out say, when El Asesino books a show, man, he knows what the hell he's doing.
Now you're kissing up.
Yeah, well, I mean, there are things about El Asesino that work. He is great inside that ring, and he is a solid booker as well too. I might not like his attitude, but the man knows what he's doing.
No, you all kidding aside, you make a great point. Assassino and a couple of the guys were doing the booking for that High Impact Wrestling that you and I used to work for, and that made a big improvement in booking when those guys started doing the shows up here. But even another step forward when PPW started. The booking has, in my opinion, always been immaculate
Yep.
in PPW. I realize I'm biased, but I also turn a critical eye when I see some of the cards or see some of the rundowns, and it's solid, man. And that the you can tell because the fans react to that. They accept that, and you know when booking is bad because you'll hear the groaning from the fans, but we don't get much of that.
No,
really any at all. And as far as local booking, PPW, yeah, you got a good suggestion there.
yeah. And again, like, I mean, we know that El Asesino isn't exactly on the booking committee, but we've got a great team behind it at Prairie Pro Wrestling that do a fantastic job. That I would say is, it's on par with what you get from El Asesino when he books as well, too, because, I mean, he knows the same team. He's been around them. He's been shown the ropes by them. So, that he's learned quite a bit from the people that are putting PPW together. I mean, that are putting the shows together in particular, the matches, what's going to, who's going to be getting what match, where we're going from there kind of thing. And man, coming up, Papa Smokes, it's going to be great. We'll talk about that in a minute. Again, any more on the Booker side of things, or did you want we could switch over to some PPW talk in a bit here?
I was just thinking of one more thing is that you just reminded me of. Like, I've heard the equivalency made before between a wrestling booker and a football coach is that when you have a roster and a show to do, you don't just pick the guys willy-nilly to do it. You pick the best man for that position at that moment, and that's the guy that gets that spot. Guys and girls I'm talking about here. If you need a fast guy in this position, then you pick your fastest guy. If you need a strong guy in this position, pick your strong guy. And if you need an aggressive guy in this position, put the aggressive guy in there. That's why you talk about El Asesino. He knows his team. He knows his roster. He knows their strengths and weaknesses. And the booking committee we have here is in on that as well. So it's just like coaching in football. You put the best guy in at that position at that time just to do that job. He doesn't have to do any other job. Just do that job. You don't have to steal the show. In fact, we don't want you to steal the show unless you're in the main event. Mm-hmm. Just do your job in that spot and the show will turn out just fine. You'll get your payout. You'll get your reward.
Yeah. And it's I agree. It's been great. Even sometimes, like, some of the fans, oh, really, that match or something? Like, even those times, I always say, see it out. See where they're going with it, see it out. And again, we haven't had a problem, so it's been all good. Before we talk about a little bit more Prairie Pro Wrestling, I also want to say we pay our respects to another fallen professional wrestler in the world, Papa Smokes. Somebody that you're very familiar with in the form of Adnan El-Casey. Did you want to talk about him for just a moment? That just passed away this week, and rest in peace, Adnan.
Yeah, for sure. I've been thinking about him a lot. I'd been following with him. I had made a couple of small exchanges with him just over the past couple of years, but I noticed he hadn't been posting anything for probably the past year, and I was wondering what was happening. Maybe he wasn't into it anymore, but I guess he was ill. He was 80 years old, but another interesting dude, and I'd love to get his book. I've seen it advertised before. I think you pretty much have to order it over the internet to get it. But
okay,
he has another similar story, almost like the Iron Sheiks, except El-Casey was from Baghdad, Iraq, and he was school chums with Saddam Hussein. They're the same age, and they were in the same class. They weren't really like good friends, I don't think, but they knew each other.
Yeah.
And Saddam liked that Adnan was a wrestler, a Greco-Roman wrestler. And eventually, when Saddam became leader of the country, he ran into El-Casey and said, "Hey, I remember you were a good wrestler. Are you still wrestling?" Yeah. Well, let's put on some shows. And you might have seen some of the pictures online today. Saddam was throwing wrestling shows in stadiums the size of Wembley or almost as big as that, big giant soccer stadiums, just to have his buddy be the main event in it. And like, there's 100,000 people or more there. It's crazy. And I think the same thing, El Casey didn't feel safe at some point in Iraq with various political things going on. And like Iron Sheik came over to where? Minnesota, right? Where all the good wrestlers are and where all the guys you want to know to get in the business. And he came in through Vern at first. He also worked for Vince Sr. He was Billy White Wolf, the American native star with the feathered headdress and everything. They just took a guy that had the slightly brown skin or whatever, and you're Billy White Wolf now. That was amusing. That's the old days of wrestling for sure. Yep. But once he became the Sheik in the AWA, that's when I remember seeing him as a kid down on the floor, and he's got the robes and he's yelling in Arabic, and he had a real sword in a real scabbard that he would pull out and start swinging around. And I know that scared me as a kid. There's nothing like being scared of a heel when you're a kid. You always remember that, and you always remember that guy. That's what Adnan El Casey is for me.
So Parrish joining us up in the house here. We're gonna have to do like a lot more on Adnan El Casey. Watch some matches. Yeah. We'll do a longer piece on him, of course, too. The timing, I just didn't have enough time for us to really put together something proper. So I do think we need to pay our respects properly on an upcoming show. Geez, I mean, we might have one to cover a whole bunch of people at this point. It's fallen off all over the place, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But the time will come. But right now, Papa Smokes, let's talk about PPW before we end the show. Because, of course, we've got Prairie Pro Wrestling presents Ring of Horrors Part 2. Yes, that is going to be coming up on Saturday, October the 21st, live in Saskatoon from the Cosmos Senior Center. And we know that one of the matches has been announced for this event already, Papa Smokes. We know that El Asesino, the man we were talking about before, is going to go one-on-one with Cannonball Kelly in a chairs match. I'm expecting a bloody affair on our hands that night.
No, you think, Munson? Like the way this has been building up, like somebody lighting a line of gunpowder that leads into a barrel full of gunpowder is kind of what this match is looking like. And it's obviously by design, but a chairs match. My God, like how perfect, how apropos, because El Asesino, you remember we were looking at the chair he was using at one of those previous shows. After the show. It looked like a goddamn train ran over it or something. It was absolutely smashed. And this is from him swinging it into human flesh. I mean, my God, you just look at, he destroyed a metal folding chair, not one of those wimpy Walmart crappy ones, like a good sturdy chair. And it was bent and the prongs were broken and everything. I mean, and this is from hitting over people's backs and people's heads.
I mean, damn it, he sent Irish to the hospital last show.
Oh man, he did not look good back in the dressing room. Like they pretty much carried him back there. He had almost no power in his legs left. What's Asesino gonna do, man? Like, and now that he's in a match that's sanctions the use of chairs, like I almost question. We were just talking about good PPW booking, but I almost question this because it's insanity, and somebody's gonna get hurt, and maybe we at ringside are going to get hurt. Maybe fans are going to get hurt. This is going to be crazy, man. And there's no way that the ring and ringside area is going to contain this. We've seen Cannonball and Asesino and those guys before that like to brawl. They're going to take it out into the crowd. I'm just worried for what might happen at this show. The intensity is so high.
It's going to be insane, and you're right, Papa Smokes. Nobody is safe when those two are smashing around at ringside in a match such as this. It is designed to hurt, and it's going to hurt, but sometimes it's necessary. We talk about the booking side of it. You know, again, we had to allow things to boil over into that that unsanctioned fight between Jacob Creed and Michael Allen Richard Clark before, because there was just no other solution. We tried giving them singles matches. We tried doing it the proper way. The booking committee did everything they could to make it right. It's just that so much bad blood between them that it needed to be settled in the only way we knew how. Let them fight. And that's what's happening at Ring of Horror. We're allowing El Asesino and Cannonball Kelly to go out there and have what they want. Cannonball Kelly asked for it. He wanted a chairs match against El Asesino at Ring of Horror. So you know what? If he feels that this is the best way to go about ending this thing with the Mexican Devil, then I say let them have it. Let them have their chairs match. Although I do have to say, for your sake and Bastard's sake, careful down at ringside, guys.
No.
I'm not sure what my position will be that night, but hopefully it'll be way out of the way of any swinging El Asesino chairs. I got that much. Paris saying maybe I have to come out of retirement to teach them a lesson for what he did to Son of Irish. It's always an option there too. But I mean, yeah, he laid your former tag team partner out bad, and it was idiot. The match didn't even start. They never even got to a match. Irish was coming down. He sneak attacks him from the sides and just pulverize him over and over and over into that barrier with the crowd, and just relentlessly. And then the chairs, and oh good God, man, like I can't believe how finally Cannonball Kelly came out to possibly stop El Asesino from shelving Irish for life. And this is a young man. He could have ended this young man's career on that night, Papa Smokes.
Yeah, we don't know that he didn't. And you remember the little girl that sits over by my side where I do the camera work? There's two cute little girls that sit in there, and she was crying when the Sheik ripped up her sign the last time. They were crying this time over that attack on Son of Irish. The little girls didn't like that because it was so violent. And Asesino doesn't care. He's making a point. He doesn't care who he upsets. He doesn't care who cries, whether the fans cry, the wrestlers that get hurt cry. He doesn't care. And you know Asesino, Munson, he's always been a hard ass. He's set in his ways. He's very firm. He won't back up. He won't back down ever to anything. He's 1,000 times worse now than he's so obstinate. Now he's just going and attacking talent that he doesn't approve of on the roster because he feels like they might be taking up room for his run at the title. And there's no provocation. There's no warning to this. He runs out sometimes a couple times in a match and starts slamming people with chairs. It's gross sometimes. The violence of it is almost gross.
It really is. And again, I know that Chris Parrish, I mean, don't get me wrong. If anyone wants to ever stand up to someone like LS, so, we know our boy Chris Parrish is more than capable of doing that with the story career that he's had in professional wrestling. But man, Parrish, I mean, you're our brother. I don't wish this upon you. I don't. You have a child on the way. Not a good idea, my friend. Really, just come out of retirement. Yes. Stand up to El Asesino. I know you're capable. I just don't recommend it, because even if you do take the fight to him, you're still going to get your hurt on. And I know you will. I've seen it every time anybody steps up to this guy.
Yeah, he just won't play fair. He's not ever going to play fair because he doesn't think the rules apply to him. And for all I know, maybe they don't, but that's the way he walks around this world. Anybody he doesn't like, he straight up clocks him in the face. He doesn't care, and he's a hard-ass guy.
Yeah, just like my cats are being hard-asses fighting right now with each other.
Sounds
absolutely
like it, yeah.
Disturbing. Teach my child kick. That's right. You could. I mean, you could show your child a very good lesson in ending the tyrannous reign of one El Asesino. But man, I've seen a lot try, and it's been getting pretty ugly. And this man has faced his wrath a couple of times already, Papa Smokes. But he made a big comeback from his injury, and in a big way over at the last show. And I'm talking about Colton Kelly, someone who I'm hoping we'll be seeing at Ring of Horrors once again. Nothing been made official, but again, we know that it was said he's still entitled to that shot that he earned at the champion. And Sheik Akbar Shabazz retained. Colton Kelly's breathing down his neck, and I know he's probably going to be talking to management and asking, hey, October 21st, I'm assuming he's going to shoot his shot on October 21st, or at least I'm hoping. That's our big show. I would love to see Colton Kelly one-on-one in the rematch against Sheik Akbar Shabazz finally.
For sure. And I know that the PPW Nation breathed a collective sigh of relief when Colton Kelly came into the territory, because here was a big guy, a good-looking dude, a popular dude that the fans could get behind, that had some power behind him and some technique, and is a good wrestler and a cool, positive guy. And you saw how the fans took to him immediately. Mm-hmm. And one of the reasons for that is that he's fearless. He's got courage, and he stood up and had a match against El Asesino and wasn't having any of those shenanigans that El Asesino usually gets away with. And this is what our fans have been just waiting for with bated breath this whole time, is when is someone going to put it to this masked devil that rules and runs rampant over our entire company, attacking anyone he feels like. And Cannonball Kelly is one of those hopefuls that's always around too. When Colton Kelly came in, that was another one too, a guy that can hang in the main event with the big guys, including El Asesino and the Sheik, and maybe get something done. Maybe put one of these guys in their place, put one of these villains down the ladder a little bit, and step up and be one of the most popular stars for PPW.
Many of the PPW Nation would argue that Colton Kelly had the champion beat if it wasn't for El Asesino's sneak attack, turning it into a disqualification win. Again, Colton Kelly yet to be beaten in Prairie Pro Wrestling himself too. So he's got a bit of a streak going on. Yes, he had some time off because of injury, an injury that, as far as he knows, and as far as anybody knows, was inflicted by the champion Sheik Akbar Shabazz, creating that much more animosity. I mean, come on. I mean, the writing's on the wall there. I mean, just seems kind of funny that, you know, both Colton and the head of talent relations and blah, 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 Crash Crimson there got sneak attacked in a parking lot in Edmonton at the same time, and both put on the shelf right before that big main event was originally planned.
Well, yeah, I see what you're getting at, Munson, but it also kind of sounds like a conspiracy theory. Like, I don't think that everything bad that happens has to do with Sheik Akbar Shabazz. And if Crash Crimson gets pissed and falls down his stairs in the middle of the night and breaks his arm and leg, he can't just go around saying that it was Sheik Akbar Shabazz that attacked him. And same thing with Colton Kelly. So I don't know. I need to see the police reports. I need to see some of the medical reports before I believe this, because it's very much a big coincidence, and I don't like coincidences.
All right, fair enough, Pop Smokes, fair enough. A couple more things we're going to cover here about the upcoming PPW show that's tied into everything that's going on. Of course, we can't forget that I'm pretty sure that we have not seen the ending, although we were supposed to see the ending at the last show in the 2 out of 3 falls match between Michael Allen, Richard Clark, and Levi Knight. I don't know that we have. I really don't know that we have, because, again, Mark came out victorious with a 2-1 win over Levi in that particular matchup. But Levi attacking with that toolbox after the match was said and done, laying Michael Allen out. You know, you'd think the third match would be that's done. But I cannot see Michael Allen, Richard Clark allowing this to slide.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. Clark will not let this slide. And it's funny that you mentioned the toolbox under the ring. I mean, certainly a toolbox has its place around a ring that's being set up and taken down later that night. But did that not seem rather premeditated to you, Munson, that the way he went down there, he knew exactly where that was. He didn't have to look for it. It's almost like he put that there with the intention of using a weapon in this match. And it just goes to show you how important this rivalry was to both these wrestlers, and to Levi Knight, that was his backup plan. That was his plan all along, I think, to have that toolbox down there and to use it to interfere in the match. That's how badly he wanted the win in that rubber match against Michael Allen, Richard Clark. And Levi Knight showed that he'll stop at nothing to get that win and to get the notoriety that goes along with it. So I respect a wrestler that will find a way to get what he wants and still do that.
You know, Levi is the first wrestler to actually put any form of defeat on Michael Allen, Richard Clark. Despite coming up short in the 2 out of 3 falls match, he did get one victory in there, and he has beaten him previously before too. So again, Levi Knight has really become the Achilles heel to Michael Allen, Richard Clark, which was crazy to think because it seemed like Michael Allen was practically unstoppable, especially in Prairie Pro Wrestling. He was undefeated up to that point. The only thing that had ever held him back was becoming injured during the championship tournament, which then he got replaced by the Sheik, who inevitably became the champion. So you got to be psychologically in the back of Mark's mind thinking of not only about the chance that you didn't get at the title, but now you've got this guy who's followed you around, who started trying to shadow you and mirror you a lot of the time. And all of a sudden he's come up and now he's gotten under your skin to the point where he's pulling the W's on him. Something that nobody else has done. And every once in a while, it seems to be in professional wrestling that some wrestlers can be absolutely the best up against anybody, but they've always got that one. And Levi Knight might be that to Michael Allen, Richard Clark.
Oh, geez, you make a good point, Munson, and no one's really gotten under Clark's skin like Levi Knight has in recent months here too. And I just have to ask, is this over? I don't think it's over. It doesn't seem like it is in my mind. It doesn't seem like it is in either of their minds. But will the match be signed for House of Horrors 2? We don't know. But even if they wrestle separate people, will they still have some involvement with each other? That is Knight and Clark. We'll have to see about that. And that way we'll know, is this over for sure?
We sure will. You know who's going to be there with us? Basser, the third video, bro. What's up, brother? How are you doing this evening? We're just ending the show with some PPW talk, my friend. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that pans out. But, you know, I also want to mention the tag team division, Papa Smokes, because, again, the Clandestine Society, the Rhinestone Cowboy, and Michael Richard Blaze have been on an absolute tear in Prairie Pro Wrestling since coming there and forming this tag team. And it seems like Barack Karani, despite the fact that nobody noticed it, kept coming out with different partners, trying to get that victory over the Clandestine Society. Whether it was, you know, Jack Pride out there with him. I know there was someone else as well, too. Slipping my mind at the moment. That's the thing about not writing shit down, Bobby. You don't know. But
Amir Jordan at the last show.
That's the thing. And now all of a sudden, Amir Jordan becomes his partner. And voila, Barack got his W over the Clandestine Society, and him and Amir Jordan picking up that big victory. Now, I don't know. There's no confirmation, but there is a slight possibility Amir Jordan may be coming to watch the show. He might be backstage. I don't know for sure. No, we don't have anything concrete yet, but if by some chance there is one more opportunity for Amir Jordan in Prairie Pro Wrestling, could we see that rematch, that inevitable tag rematch between Amir and Barat versus the Clandestine Society? And before we take that note from you, Papa Smoke, Barry Monkey's up in the house. Barry, how are you doing? I was just going to say, that's the end of the stream. Barry, thanks for joining in. No, I'm kidding, Barry. I'm pulling your leg. We're not quite done yet. But we are nearing the end, sir. But stick around for the best. We're talking about Prairie Pro Wrestling at the moment. But thoughts on this, Papa Smokes? Could we potentially see a rematch between these two teams?
Yeah, I really hope so. And what you're talking about is a brand new tag team division that's just trying to get its feet underneath itself. The Clandestine Society is obviously kind of the powerhouse tag team. They've appeared as a tag team on the last several shows since we've been featuring tag team action. I think, and with the crowd support, I feel like they think they might be on the fast track to being the top tag team in PPW. But as you succinctly brought up, Bharat Gorani appearing with various tag team partners. And like you said, he's trying to get that chemistry. He's trying to get that combination. And you saw that with Amir Jordan. Oh boy, they found some chemistry there. And they picked up the win over Clandestine Society last time, which I don't think anybody expected from what we've seen as a first-time team in Saskatoon. So this next match, if we can get Amir Jordan with Bharat Gorani again in that match against Clandestine Society, that would really be now the match that will set the power structure for the tag team division in PPW.
You bet, Papa Smokes. Barry saying he's good. Just watched Impact, and it was average. And Astrid can't wait for the 1000th episode of Impact Wrestling. Impact does good. We should check out some more Impact ourselves, Papa Smokes. I kind of feel we're missing out there because they do a wonderful job over there. Funny story. Because we were on the tailgate party, and Bobby and Parrish had mentioned that there was a team on the Amazing Race Canada consisting of Gail Kim and Giselle Shaw. I decided I got to get back and watching it. I had forgotten all about the race. I kind of enjoyed that show, so I watched it. Unfortunately, it didn't last very long for the two of them, but it was great to see familiar faces on the Amazing Race Canada. And still, I love that. I love that kind of stuff. I like watching competitions. I like stuff to do with travel. I like seeing different parts of the country, different parts of the world. It's fantastic. So
cool to have lady wrestlers featured on there. Not only wrestlers, but lady wrestlers. It gets it out there that they're people out there working, competing, doing their thing, and getting on a TV show and getting some popularity amongst the viewers.
Yeah, and Parrish is saying that I say Parrish and Bobby as if I'm using myself in a third person, but I meant Bobby Petito, of course, and Parrish knew that, but he likes to have his fun, and we like having that fun here on the show as well with him. But yeah, it's great. Let's just see here. Me too. I enjoyed the challenge. It's a guilty pleasure. You know what, Astrid? I am like the king of watching reality television shows, especially the competition-based ones. And one of these days, I will get myself on one of them. Yeah, Big Brother can only deny my my bid so many times before they put this face on TV.
It's got to be Survivor months, and you got to get out there digging clams.
I like the idea of Survivor too, because again. I think about it and like all the fasting that they end up doing. Like, I don't mind doing intermittent fasting, and I've done multi-day fasting before. So I think that the eating portion of it wouldn't bother me too badly. I think I'd be fine. I think I'd do okay with it. I don't know that I'd make it to the end. I don't really know if I'd be able to survive right the way through kind of thing without getting my ass voted off eventually. But, secretly loves The Bachelor and The Bachelorette, not so much. We don't watch those ones. I find that's where I draw the line because it's just too much cheese and nonsense. I like the ones where they actually have to compete for shit and kind of thing. I like just competing for someone to say yes to you based on some fake love story. No thanks, not for me. Eating portion would be my week. They don't really do the eating portion anymore lately. I've noticed it's been more of the actual challenges and not so much the eating. I find with eating, especially like disgusting stuff, if you're like if you take something in and pinch your nose so you can't smell it, a lot of the time it's hard to get the taste there. And don't take too many bites. I think that's the problem most people make is they try to go and start chewing a whole lot. Like, take it in bits and just get that shit straight down so that you can't taste it. And then worry about the fact that you're going to have the most horrible tasting breath for the next several days, as if you don't already. The challenge does it especially towards the final episode. Okay, they do a eating one on the challenge itself. I've always wondered, because there's some weird stuff, some very weird stuff they've done in these eating challenges before. Big fan of 30 Day Fiance. What the hell? What have you been watching, brother? Like, I don't even know about that one. Funny though. Sounds funny anyway. No, the only one like that I'll give credit to is either Love Is Blind or Married at First Sight. Watched both. Don't care. think what you will about it. I watch those two with the wife, and we have a good ass time watching them.
I watched a reality show a few years ago, Munson, on some weird channel that was, I think it might have been called The Colony, and they had this kind of compound outside of New Orleans or something in kind of hurricane ravaged Katrina area. And they just kind of took the whole idea that an apocalypse has happened and this is your compound and you guys have to set up everything, you know, like clean water and all this other stuff. And they make it possible. They put stuff there for them to use and stuff. But also these people come, like these ravagers come and like will smash their stuff with sticks and like steal all their food and stuff if they're not careful. And it was pretty wild. It was kind of a cool idea. They made a working engine with these dead pigs they found. They boiled their fat and made a whole electrical system and everything. It was pretty neat, man. I liked that one a whole bunch.
That's awesome. Bear saying he was a huge fan of The Biggest Loser until he found out it wasn't the story of Hulk Hogan.
I was The Biggest Loser, brother.
Yeah, that's right. He ate his vitamins and got rid of all that weight. If I know, I think that's what the biggest loser was the weight loss one, if I'm not mistaken. I think I've seen it once a long time ago, but not for a while. But yeah, I mean, why not, right? Like we've all got our, you know, I got our guilty pleasures. Why not watch some of these things every once in a while? There's some good shit out there. We can like what we like, and that's you know, again, with our topic tonight, you like what you like when it comes to professional wrestling booking. You like what you like when it comes to professional wrestling in general. And I can't knock you for any of you for it, because again, if something entertains you, then it's doing its job, and that's all it's about. But
you should do your job as a fan to watch better stuff and find better stuff and watch different stuff.
This is true as well too.
just throwing that in there.
Yeah, might as well. So, Pop Smokes, anything to this episode of Ring Respect Radio here?
Nope, not really, but nice talk. And I like talking about the current events sometimes. I admittedly don't follow super closely the big companies like you guys do that appear on podcasts where you're doing reviews and stuff, but it's fun and timely to talk about just some of the big things that are going on in our business, and particularly this past year with a couple of huge events. We never talked about the sale of WWE, but that's one of the biggest wrestling news stories ever, probably. And same thing with some of the tumultuousness of AEW. It's a wild world to sit back and watch. Sometimes I can't even believe what's going on, but hey, that's part of the entertainment too, is the backstage stuff, and that's what fans nowadays really get off on.
It's very, very true, Pop Smokes. All right, so it's come to that point in the night where we're going to be heading off. In the meantime, and in between time, Pop Smokes, well, let the good folks know what that ticker's all about down below and where they can find you. As I'm getting us ready to raid our good friend Bubba Duke, him and OMD are over there still playing some Starfield. We're going to send you their way right away on the Twitch side.
Okay, I'm looking at my Twitter. Looks like you've got everything together here, Munson. I don't have to remind you like that one night. I'm just kidding. Can be found social media style on X at smokes_papa. And then you can also find me on Twitch at papa_smokes_.
Awesome, Papa Smoke. Sounds wonderful. Again, we're heading over to our good friend Bubba Duke over the Boar's Nest. Him and OMD are playing Starfield. Say hello for us. If you're on the YouTube side, stick with us for just a moment here as I put up my notes there. That is where you can find me down below at all those different wonderful places, including my own personal place. Yes, good night to everybody who's been in the chat. We appreciate you being here. That's where you can find me again, next to be seen this Sunday with my brunch buster brother, Chris Parrish, as we talk all things in the world of professional wrestling this week on the latest edition of Busting Out. That's going to be it for myself and Papa Smokes. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next Thursday. Take care, everybody.